Hello, my name is Jay Patel, and today I will be presenting an environmental analysis of Great Barrier Reef in Australia. I will be using several geographic concepts like climate change, global interactions, human environment relations, and placemaking to explain why the reef is undergoing significant ecological change by combining this concept with spatial analysis and a web map, we can better understand both the environmental challenges and the human factors shaping this place. So, the Great Barrier Reef stretches more than 2,300 kilometers along the northeastern coast of Australia, making it the largest coral reef system on Earth. It contains over 3,000 individual reefs and around 900 islands, supporting more than 1,500 fish species and 400 coral species, and hundreds of marine animals. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and contributes over $6 billion annually to Australia's tourism economy. However, despite its size and biodiversity, the reef is extremely vulnerable to environmental change. In past decade, it has experienced repeated mass bleaching events driven primarily by warming ocean temperatures linked to climate change. Understanding its scale, biodiversity, and human importance help us see why protecting the reef is a major global as national priority. So it just have you ever wondered how a coral becomes bleached? So for if you take a look at on the first one here, the coral and algae depend on each other to survive. At that time they are very healthy, and if there is a small amount of even weather or temperature change, the reef is stressed and algae leaves the coral. At the third, when the coral is left bleached and vulnerable, it just dies. I have developed three key questions for this presentation. First is, why has coral bleaching intensified, especially in the Great Barrier Reef, and how do global climate systems make this place more vulnerable? Second, how does special organization of tourism, marine zones, and coastal development influence which areas experience the most ecological stress? And the third is, how does the reef fit into broader global processes such as climate policy, carbon emissions, tourism dependence, and environmental governance? This questions help shift our thinking from simply describing the reef to understanding the geographic forces shaping it. Right. So for the first major concept is climate change, which refers to long-term increases in temperature and shifts in climate patterns caused mainly by human activity. Rising sea temperatures directly stresses coral and trigger bleaching. The second is global local interactions. This means global climate forces such as atmospheric warming or ocean heat waves create very specific local ecological effects. Even if emissions occurs elsewhere, their impacts show up directly in the reef. Next is human environment relations. People depend heavily on the reef for tourism, fishing, and coastal protection. But human activity also introduces pollution, runoff, and physical stress that weaken coral resilience. And finally, placemaking. Placemaking refers to how different groups assign meaning to a place. For indigenous communities, The reef is a cultural landscape. For scientists, it is a research site, and for tourism group, it's an economic asset. And now let's apply these concepts. So, climate change is the leading cause of bleaching. As a global temperature rise, ocean water becomes warmer and causing corals to expel the algae they depend on for energy. This shows a direct connection between global climate processes and local ecosystem collapse. Human environment relations help explain why some areas suffer more than others. Coastal development increases sediment runoff. Tourism brings millions of visitors, adding pressure through boats, infrastructure, and waste. Even though tourism provides billions in revenue, it also increases risk for a coral damage. Placemaking reveals why governing the reef is challenging. Different groups value the reef in different ways, culturally, economically, and scientifically, leading to mixed priorities when creating conservation policies. Taken together, these concepts show that reefs decline is not just environmental problem. It is a social, economic, and global issue. In this last slide, I have created a web map which visually highlights bleaching hotspots across the coastline. So if we take a look at on the nearby uh, Queensland and Townsville, it's still at number one watch, and towards a little bit up, it's in a warning area. In conclusion, the Great Barrier Reef illustrates how environmental systems, human systems, and geographic processes are deeply connected. Protecting the reef will require action at multiple scales, from global climate policies to local conservation strategies. Understanding these geographic relations helps us see why meaningful solutions must address both climate change and human behavior. Thank you.